Welcome to Career Journals. I'm your host, Faye, and in each episode, we talk to professionals in different industries about their careers, personal growth, and everything in between. If you're in school or just figuring it out, we're here to help. Help explore what's out there and how to get you there. How are you? How are you feeling today? Hey, Daniel?
Good. Just a little bit nervous. The right amount of nervous.
No, don't be nervous.
I'll be
Thank you
alright.
again for deciding to be on the podcast.
Okay,
For
thank you.
everyone listening, Daniel and I, we did work together. When I was thinking about guests for this upcoming wave of episodes, he popped in my mind. So thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me.
So first question, very basic, straight to it. Where did you grow up and a little bit about your background?
I grew up in a place called Brighton on the south coast of England. Very nice little seaside town. Born and bred there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I love Brighton. Everyone from Brighton is very proud to come from Brighton. It's a very unique little place.
Yes.
Um,
I've only ever been to London and Manchester, but I've heard great things. I know your beaches are made out of rocks. Is that true?
Yes, it's a pebble beach, which
Pebble
some people
Beach.
say is not a beach, but
Yeah.
Brighton people take offense to that, but it is.
Yeah.
I think we have very strong feet in Brighton, like little hobbit feet to get over it. And I don't know, this is a bit of a side track, but and it'll be interesting only to you probably, Faye, but like,
Yeah, let's hear it.
I was on a bus in Brighton and overheard a conversation behind me where someone said, "You know what Brighton reminds me of? Lagos." So
Really?
there you go.
Okay.
So, and I
I
turned
would say
around.
Brighton is more aesthetically pleasing, but maybe there's similarities. It's by the coast. Lagos is also by the coast in
There you
Nigeria,
go.
so I can
You
see
may
it.
be, if you come there, you might be like, "Oh yeah, I get it," or maybe
Yeah.
not.
Maybe I'll
Anyway,
book a trip. That's on my list. Oh, okay. Sorry, let's bring it back. Oh,
yeah.
okay. Brighton, nice, humble beginnings. What made you go into your current profession? So just walk us through like your current job title and then how you got here.
Yeah. So when I graduated from university, I was obviously looking for work, as you do, and being a copywriter appealed to me because all of my favorite authors had maybe started in copywriting, or it seemed to me a kind of a profession with some that I could use my writing skills, and I loved writing, and also something that all these heroes I might have done, like I don't know, F. Scott Fitzgerald, I think was a copywriter, maybe Hemingway, Salman Rushdie, I think was a copywriter, and so it seemed like a thing that writers could do to make some money, at least early on in their
Exactly.
career. And then I just stayed in it. And all I've ever done since is copywriting, and then I guess broadening out to content and creative direction. So working then on videos, brand and design, all these other things that make up this kind of weird term content.
Exactly.
So yeah, I started at an agency. They were very nice to take me on as an intern and just kept me for 6 years. And by the time I left,
what did you study before you even got that position? Like when you were in undergrad?
I was a history undergrad.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that.
And I still love history, but it's what I'll go back to when all this goes away. When this industry disappears, I'll go back to history in some way.
Did you always have a love for writing? There's a lot of similarities within history and also writing and documenting, storytelling. Was that all a part of what led you to where you are right now?
Yes. I loved writing and I loved fiction and reading. And so when I thought about professions, I thought that would be one to look into.
Nice.
I asked some recruiters and they didn't really know what it was. A lot of people misheard it as something to do with law, like copywriting in the sense of copyright law. That's a common thing I was getting here of like, but then I went to a job fair, found this agency, and was very, very fortunate. I should have been fired many times in the first year. Now looking back, I messed up so many jobs, but they were very kind to keep that. And then
was it a lot of trial and error? Were you like learning as you went? Like, did you have anyone where even some mentors, or is it more you're just learning as you go?
Oh, I had some great mentors.
Nice.
So the founder and owner of the company and the CEO was Catherine Toole. She was great.
Mm-hmm.
She was famous for tough interviews, but I somehow snuck in without being interviewed by her because I was just an intern. And then I stayed. So I got in by the back door. And there was also
Mm-hmm.
Dan Brotzel, who
Nice.
was the managing editor and who was a big, big influence on me, a great friend. And yeah, it was just very kind. Took me,
Nice.
and showed a lot of patience with me, I think, because there were
Mm-hmm.
probably times where I could have been fired. And then, yeah,
Yeah.
there's oh, I mean, lots of people I worked with. Jack Davies, I worked there, and he was a
Mm-hmm.
great younger editor at the time, but like the star of the agency.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been following in his footsteps and trying to catch up, and haven't caught up yet. So still trying.
That's nice. That's amazing. And then currently, like, take me through your day to day. So starting from an intern at an agency, and then where you are right now, you can talk about like that jump and also how it is currently.
Yeah, so by the end of the 6 years at this agency, I was a associate content director. I had like one
Nice.
large financial services client that I was doing all their content with globally. So that's where I kind of left
Mm-hmm.
that agency. I went to a company called Qualtrics, which was a tech
Nice.
company, to become their kind of head of content for the European region.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a great 5 or 6 years again. Lots of experience I got in events, in
Mm-hmm.
video production, in brand, in just working quickly, just a
Exactly.
really great experience. And then after Qualtrics, then I met you at True Rating. So I
Yes.
came in to work on the kind of brand and the creative direction at True Rating. Now I'm at Zendesk, which is
Mm-hmm.
another kind of SaaS company that does customer service software.
Mm.
And there I am, some very long, complicated job. Doesn't really
We
make
love
sense, but it doesn't make sense to me either. But it's managing the team that that does original research and thought leadership.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's where I'm at now.
Yeah. And take me through your day to day. So you manage a team roughly. How is that balancing? I guess a lot of strategy behind that as well. And then also executing. And then if there are any overall goals without, spilling any trade secrets, just walk us through that, the day to day.
Day to day, day to day. It's tough. So
Mhm,
I'd say firstly, the managing side is straightforward because the team is
mhm,
really good. I think they're just really great people, so I can take no credit for it. But I think as much as possible, just getting out of their way and not being a hindrance
mhm,
and doing my best to make their lives easier, I suppose,
mhm,
with how I might be able to do that by talking to my peers or talking to other senior people to
exactly.
get things cleared and make their lives easier, basically. But
Mhm,
that's the goal, I think, with that. But it's not. So day to day, it is just making sure they're feeling okay, doing well.
nice.
Yeah, I think um, there's a culture difference because I'm European, I'm from London and whatever, and we
Yes.
have all this annual leave
Mhm,
and so I'm also just trying to get across that I really want them to take care of themselves and not work
yes.
hard. And but they are great, and so they don't need me for that much really. So
Mhm,
the day to day otherwise is mostly focused on, well, at the level I'm at probably now, it's more about probably setting the direction of original research and reports we might do, working kind of to get stakeholders all agreed on the direction of this report. It's more about that. It's managing that side of things than the work itself, which
mhm,
is the sort of unfortunate side of things. You sort of get out of the production of things when you get out, but and then
yeah.
it's the review of materials. I'm a reviewer.
Mhm,
uh, a number of things where I try not to be too difficult and try to be a
mhm,
good reviewer, uh, with feedback that makes sense and is fair. And so
mhm,
that's right now one of the big focuses is an event we're running in May, and so yeah, securing speakers takes up a lot of my day at the moment. And
mhm,
then working with those speakers on the sessions. We have some CEOs that are going to speak at the event. And so making sure they feel comfortable and having our speakers lined up to do the interviews, all that stuff is taking up some. So,
mm, mm.
um, yeah, a mix of things. But yeah,
And
yeah,
how's that balance of, because I know within your role, there's a lot of creative ideas, a creative strategy, but it's also tying that into business goals. So like what the business itself is trying to accomplish while
yeah.
still making sure we're like you're creating impactful content, because that can be tough, because the goal could be very, typical business, typical corporate, but there are elements that need to have that creative element. So how do you balance both of that?
I think that a content team is often best when they get partnered with people who have a better oversight of the business goals.
Mm,
I do think that's how I typically like to work, that I like to be. You have to understand the goals, and you have to understand the objectives, and then tailor your work to it. The owning of those goals, the setting of those goals, and the kind of tracking of those is not a content team's responsibility.
mm-hmm,
I think of content as a service in a lot of ways to
mm,
um, to help others kind of hit their goals. Everyone needs
mm-hmm.
content.
Yeah.
Everyone is always after it. And the best thing a content team can do is be a kind of great partner with all that.
Mm,
I mean, it depends if you're in a team like an SEO team or an AEO team. I mean, then you have your own goals and you have content that is supporting those. But if you're talking about a kind of content marketing team or a creative team, I do think you need to partner up with the people in the business who have those goals. And I think that's the best use of people's different skills, that you have creative people who are not the best at looking through pipeline data, not the best at
mm-hmm,
getting Tableau reports, not the best at tracking this stuff, and you don't really want them to be potential. You want them to be coming up with these great ideas to help you hit these goals.
mm.
So that's how I think
That's
I
well
try and
said.
balance
Definitely. I think because currently I'm within a content team, and I see us a lot as we're part of every facet of the business.
things. Hmm.
We're the biggest supporters, cheerleaders. A lot of the stuff that we put out is what helps progress a lot of deals. But to your
Yeah,
point, we're not the ones that are like with the demand gen team. We're not the ones like
yeah,
zoning in on who we're sending these ads to, who we're trying to target. We're just supporting the content that is reaching the people. But how
yeah.
that happens, that's where everybody else, teamwork. That's how we all rally together to make that happen. Well said.
And I've
We're
I've always
gonna,
liked
oh yeah.
I've always liked being behind the scenes a little bit and being the person who can kind of pull the strings of it, but not be
Mm-hmm.
at the center. So maybe it's just a personal choice that I think the content team is similar to that in the sense of it's if you want all the credit for stuff, don't go into content because you won't
I
get the
agree.
credit. You might often get the blame if it goes wrong, but you won't get the
That
credit
is
for.
true.
Um, but that's also good in a way
Mm-hmm.
because I think content is good for people who also like to see other people succeed
Yeah.
and help others and support others. I think that's part of the job. I think a little bit.
Mm. Wow, I've never seen it that way, but you're right. Even looking at my own experience, I think I also enjoy being behind the scenes, being like quote unquote the cheerleader, making sure everyone's getting what they need. But on the flip side, to your point, it could also backfire where sometimes if something doesn't go the way it's supposed to, it can end up in our
Yeah.
our plate. Yeah, that's true. Another hot topic that I want to pick your brain on was AI. I think that's the buzzword of the past, I don't know, few years. Within my company as well, we have AI solutions, AI products.
Hmm.
How is AI changing the way content is being created and distributed? I think, yeah, it's impacted. I know my day to day, so I want to hear
Yeah.
your opinion and your thoughts on it.
Yeah. I think it's undoubtedly impressive what it can do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think to date, what I've seen it produce is still inferior to what someone could
Yeah.
produce um, themselves, mainly because it is two things really. It typically follows structures that are now very easily recognizable and kind of writing styles, it cannot really break out of and
Mm-hmm.
are now fairly recognizable and just have a kind of uncanny valley about them of like they don't
Mm,
quite sound like this person, and that's tough. And then two, I think, is that it's kind of using information that is out there, repackaging it, making it kind of generic, and
yes.
then pushing it out again. And I think that's when you're using it for the writing itself. I think it I've yet to see it generate something that I thought is good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think some of the generative AI stuff is still in the kind of party trick phase where
Mm-hmm.
it can do something impressive, but you sort of dig into it a bit, or you go under a layer and you think, well, it's not very good. It's not,
Mm-hmm.
it's impressive that I could make this prompt and I got a full report out of it, or I got a podcast out of it even,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not, uh, you start seeing the tricks in it, that it is also
Exactly.
pulling a bit of a trick, but it's undoubtedly impressive for things like research, for things that you would maybe have used Google search for before to compile kind of information in a much easier way. But you do need to,
Need to check. Yeah.
certainly at this point, interrogate it a lot more, because I've had a couple of examples of like hallucinations of data and
Mm-hmm.
of whole kind of ideas. And that's a little scary, because that
That
kind of stuff
is.
got baked into something else and then informs other decisions. And then, it's hard to unpick where the bad data or info even got in at that point, when it's so, it becomes, you're relying on something 10 steps back that was incorrect. And so you're not sure why things are not working now, but you can't even unpick it because it's not.
Exactly.
So I think that is a worry.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's here, and it's impossible to deny that it has a massive impact on content.
Exactly. I agree. I think there's also a sense of responsibility that you can also agree or disagree on this, but that marketers and content professionals have to take on. So just
Mhm.
because something can be done quickly or something can be pumped out in X times amounts speed compared to how it was done before, it doesn't necessarily mean it should be put out. There needs to be like another layer of reviewing, taking the moment to read through, and also just adding those simple human element touches. And to your point, a lot of AI content has a formula now. There's ways to feed the machine and make it more aligned with the brand or the tone of voice, but overall there's always that, like, you can tell that something's off, you know? So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
definitely.
I think it's wait and see a little bit.
Mhm. Definitely.
For content marketing, I don't know where it will end up in terms of how
Yeah.
how AI will. No one probably does,
Mm.
but yeah, I think it's wait and see.
Nice. Next question is for students, young
Mhm.
professionals that would like to go into content, brand, creative leadership. What skills would you say matter right now? And also, what advice would you give to them, especially when they're just starting out? They don't know a lot.
Feels like a very different world, and I don't want to sound like an old. But I'm getting there. I'm getting up there in age. I don't want to over egg it of how different it was, but like I worked for an agency that was getting briefed, by clients to write, the job I got brought in to do was to write 500 destination guides for a travel company,
Mm.
and then go on to write, I don't know, 1,000 hotel descriptions for that same travel company. I don't think that job exists anymore. I don't know.
Mm-mm.
I don't think they're hiring an agency and spending hundreds of thousands of pounds on
Mhm.
that project. I don't think that exists anymore.
Yeah.
So skill when I joined was, yes, in copywriting, was in being able to understand a tone of voice and then generate large amounts of copy quickly to brief on deadline. And that's, yeah, that's how we were. That was the number one skill you needed, especially
Mhm.
when you were a junior, and it was copywriting.
Yeah.
I confess I don't know how much junior copywriting roles kind of still exist, because I think
That is true.
that's the one that is, sadly, I think, at risk of kind of is the most at most threatened. So I think if you were thinking about going into something like content or creative, it would be to focus much more on how you could do something that stands out for a company. So you're always working for a brand, you're always working for a client. The thing that I don't think AI can do is to come up with the idea that stands out, and to
Mhm.
come up with an idea that really helps this company achieve what they want to achieve. That is a tougher thing to train for. It's a tougher
That is
thing to get
true.
experience in, especially when you're starting out. I think if you're looking to apply to places, I think doing spec work is a good idea. So coming up with a packet of 5 ideas or something for a company you might be applying to might be a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Not advocating for free interview work. That's not
Mm-hmm.
that's a bad part of the industry. So don't do that. Don't do unpaid work. But if you were to if you're particularly interested in a brand, showing them that you can come up with ideas that are very different and stand out, but still feel like them. And that's going to be more important, I think, than the I can write quickly and to brief,
Mm-hmm.
because we're in a bit of a losing battle on that one. But we're never
Mm.
going to write as quick as ChatGPT.
No.
And as I said, it's wait and see whether, the quality of that is going to be good enough for brands and whether ultimately they get punished by Googles and
That's
I don't
true.
know, and they get punished for using, overly generic stuff. I don't know what will happen with that, but it does feel as though copywriting as a skill is not as necessary as coming up with the ideas, the strategy, and the kind of why behind them. So they're not, I think if I was to go back to that example of the hotel descriptions, the skill would be in not being able to write the 1,000 hotel descriptions, but it would be just not, the skill wouldn't be in writing 1,000 destination guides. It would be telling them why they needed to do the destination guides in the first place.
Exactly.
What should be in those destination guides based on what you know of the customers, or
Mm-hmm.
what could be other ways that you could appeal to potential travelers? What else do people want to know about? What other content could this brand be creating? How do you make the most of those guides? All those things I think are going to be more important. Uh, but it will be tough at this point. It'd be
Mm-hmm.
tough to get to it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would say go into it open eyes. I think it's extremely rewarding to come up with some projects and do work like this. I think look at agencies. I think agency work and starting an agency is a great thing to do, a great way of learning how to work quickly and using a lot of different tones of voice,
Mm-hmm.
understanding different types of stakeholders much more, and learning how to pitch your ideas is a great thing for any skill. Like how to present your ideas is a great skill to have.
Yeah. That's
That is
amazing.
something that still won't be, that AI can't really replace. It can present ideas, but if you can present a compelling case for why you think we should do something, that's going to be very powerful. That-
Yeah.
yeah.
You make some very good points, especially when it comes to the actual skill of writing a lot of content or writing many different kinds of pieces in a short amount of time. Like the speed of writing is not necessarily something what we're looking for. It's more the strategy, creative ideas, thinking outside the box, understanding the client or the brand of the business. That's essential.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
definitely.
don't, and I don't want to leave it on thinking that copywriting is dead, because I'm thinking of like the great freelancers I work with and the
Mm,
copywriting that I do. You can still be a great copywriter. I think it's just maybe doesn't work on its own. You can't quite be a
mm,
copywriter, just a copywriter. When I joined the agency, you could just be a copywriter and take a brief and do it.
yeah.
I think you certainly need to have a wider knowledge of how to write video scripts, how to write keynote talk tracks, like event scripts
Mm-hmm.
for your speakers, not just to write long form content or blogs or
Mm,
reports. And you're going to have to get better at understanding some of the basics of video production and social media, which I would expect is something I probably have to keep learning about, but I expect probably the
mm-hmm.
audience for this is a lot better at it than I
Yeah.
am. But yeah, those are the areas that you need to get better. I think that the traditional copywriting is only going to get you so far, and
Yeah.
I think you need to be wide. You need to have a sort of wider view of content, and yeah, be comfortable with all kind of forms of it.
Mm. I love that. And then my final and honestly my favorite question I ask, what advice would you give to your younger self? So doesn't have to be career related, just thinking back to someone who is of high school age, college
Mhm.
age. I think that's uni for you guys, uni age or so like
Yeah,
what advice would you give to your younger self?
just probably relax, just calm down, don't stress
Yeah.
out too. Just simple,
Yeah.
just very simple. I'm sure everyone says something like that, but I have no great there's nothing profound I'd offer
Hmm.
offer that. I just think back that I was very stressed out all the time.
Yeah, same. Take a breather. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
But that's obviously, I mean, that's, sorry, that's also very patronizing to anyone. Like when you're younger,
No.
it all like, it obviously would not matter to me if someone told me back then to just relax. Like that obviously would not help. So also I fully recognize that.
Hmm.
You know, when you're in it and it's very stressful and it's awful. And it's like
Yeah.
your teens are probably the worst time of your life, to be honest. And but you don't want to be told like, hey, it doesn't even matter and everything will be
That's
fine.
true. That's true.
You don't want to hear that. I mean, it's just, I don't know, you're doomed, I guess, is what I'd say. Like, you're going to be panicked and stressed and worried. And then later you will think, what was I worrying about? But there's no
That's
escape.
true.
That might just be the human condition. You just,
I agree though, like taking the second, like a moment to acknowledge that, like in the moment, it seems so overwhelming. And as people who have like kind of come out of that phase of our life, obviously there's other stresses of life that would replace it, not to scare them, but it does get better. Like, to your point, truly relax, enjoy those moments because you will look back and be like, why was I stressed? This was not as
yeah.
serious as it was. But in the moment, we acknowledge that it is stressful. Definitely.
I would
Yeah.
say, I give one practical one. I'd say just don't smoke. Don't smoke. Like,
Yes. Health
I'd
is
go,
wealth, please.
I'd go find my 14-year-old self and just like backhand slap him until he stopped smoking. And then
That's actually really good advice.
if he ever picked one up, I'd come back in time and keep slapping him until
Every time you held one, a slap across the face. Yep.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Because
love
I don't
that.
mean to be patronizing, but just that's the dumbest thing in the world. Don't smoke. It's just so
Mm-mm.
dumb. Don't do that.
Yeah. And it
You may
slices your
think
hat. Yeah. Sorry, go
I'm
ahead.
willing to be very patronizing and an old man about it, but it's a dumb thing to do, and certainly dumb to start now. So just don't do that.
Hmm.
Science is in. Bad idea. There's a
Yeah.
lot of other things you could be doing to unwind, but don't do that. Anyway,
Don't do that.
yeah, I turned into my mother late on here.
No, I love it. I love it. We're gonna move on to our next segment, which is like the last part of each
Okay.
episode, where we read a dilemma that I found online and we give our advice. And a quick disclaimer: we are not professionals, so take whatever we say with the tiniest grain of salt. So, I want to get into content marketing, but I don't have any relevant experience. How do I bridge that experience gap? I graduated with a journalism degree, and I found later that the job wasn't quite for me. My advisor said I should still get a job in marketing with that degree. I've been struggling to find somewhere that will hire me with my lack of experience in writing samples. I have a few news articles, a couple features, blog posts, but not a lot of direct content writing experience. I'm having a hard time getting my foot in the door, but I have the qualities to succeed in the field. And I think I think it would work well for my lifestyle. How do I essentially build a portfolio and learn everything from scratch? So, what are your thoughts? I
Can't
can't
remember.
tell the. Let's say
Days.
it's a girl. She, yes,
I'll say he or she.
he, she.
They were they're in a good position. One, because
Mm-hmm.
I do know a lot of former journalists who've gone into content marketing.
Yes.
I think it was something that was very common maybe 15, 20 years ago because
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot more long form content.
Yes.
There was a boom in blog writing and in content marketing and writing these kind of guides that would help you get higher rankings in Google.
Mm-hmm.
That is not as that's not there anymore. Those kind of skills they'd be looking for maybe former journalists who could write those long form pieces, write stuff
Exactly.
in a brand tone of voice, but which still had the air of a news article or a kind of a an op-ed or something. But I think why this person may not be getting the most success right now is just because I think that the content marketing is so different to journalism right now
Mm-hmm.
and marketing in general that there'd be a suspicion of like, but can you do marketing? because journalism
Exactly.
tells you that you can go dig out a story, you can write a story, you can relay information very effectively. Marketing is not that. Marketing
Mm-hmm.
is how to convince a buyer that this product is the one they need and matches their
Mm-hmm.
needs, and write compelling, write
Yes.
short, compelling, write very kind of needs focused. You're not, people talk about telling a story, which I think is a little hyperbolic because
Mm-hmm.
it's you're not a storyteller. You're selling something still.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes journalists struggle to get out of that long form way of thinking of, yeah. So there's two things. Yeah. One, so I think you do need to build up a portfolio of marketing content. And as I said, a wide range showing that
Yep.
you can write short form social content. You understand the basics of writing for large language models. So you
Mm-hmm.
understand some of the principles behind that of what that means. You can write video scripts. You can write blog content or web content that is still.
Mm-hmm.
You need some examples of that because showing that you can write a news article doesn't tell someone that. You might also consider doing like your own personal kind of content. It's a good way of showing that you can do this
Yes.
stuff. Like this podcast or other blogs that you may be able to put out. But no, I mean it's very hard to get into. It's
Mm-hmm.
very hard. I don't want to present anything as like, well, this would be the solution. You still may not get in and you still may not get the job. But I think you also want to look at agencies and how you might be able to get in that way. Because as I said, I think it's really important skills to learn. You work in an agency, you really understand what it means to be delivering something that's going to get judged. And that there's no niceties about you're in the same company. They will just tell you they didn't like it. It's not good.
Exactly.
Do it again. And so that's a great skill to have because every time you go in
Mm-hmm.
house, it's always going to be easier in house. Like
Yep.
people are nicer because you're in the same company. It's just nicer. Things move
Mm-hmm.
slower. It always will be the case. I defy anyone to find an in-house that's harder than an agency job. But anyway,
Definitely.
I know if you're a journalist, you understand things. Like as I said, it's a common transition. It was a common transition. I still know lots of people in copywriting who were former journalists. Um, journalists understand that kind of pyramid structure of starting with the most important thing.
Yep.
That's a great skill that helps you transition across. If you're trying to sell yourself, you could talk about that. That is a skill that's very important that some marketers don't have that journalists might have. You want to think about what you have over marketers. You have that ability to know what the important thing is and just start with that and don't put fluff in to, get in the way of that. Yeah, that's really yeah.
Yeah. That's
I'm
you said
I
everything I was gonna say.
I would this person will still have this dilemma after this. I don't think I've solved the dilemma, but I feel
No,
like
like I said, we are not professionals. We don't know the answers to everything. It's more just like our personal
yeah,
experience, and
yeah,
hopefully it can help. At least just give some perspective of what's
yeah.
happening right now, so this person can also adjust. Yeah, because everything you said, I agree with. One thing I would
Let
add
me
is like your point to being like looking for an agency, also freelancing, like pitching
yeah,
yourself to smaller projects or smaller businesses, so that can also help build your
yeah.
portfolio.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you should always get paid for your work, and
Hmm.
I think you should keep that standard. Yeah, don't do unpaid work. But freelancing is a great idea. I guess what I'd say is okay. So if I was hiring someone now, what would I look for? Is probably
Hmm.
the put it is like I would
Yeah.
look for someone who has a lot of it is down to attitude because content everything changes all the time. You
Yes.
have a lot of difficult stakeholders, a lot of different personalities to deal with. You need an attitude of letting some things go, going with the flow,
Adapting.
getting stressed about things, not never getting too attached to a piece. It's never your piece. It's never personal. It's just
Mm-mm.
sometimes you're gonna have to kill a piece kill a whole bit of content that you loved, and
Yeah.
it's not working. So just get rid of it. So I'd look for like the attitude, and I'd look for someone who I think I could throw into kind of any kind of content project, and they would either learn on the job and adapt and just take it in their stride,
Mhm.
or they have those skills already. And that's, yeah, as I said, it's content could mean presentations at events or,
That's true.
landing page copy or social copy, blog copy, any of that, ad copy. So that kind of stuff.
Webinars.
Yeah, or if you're in brand, you're talking like big slogans, messaging. If you can show evidence of like willingness to do all of that, then yeah, I'd be interested in talking to them. Yeah.
Nice. Well, thanks, Daniel. Thanks for chatting with us, sharing your advice. I know you think you're not qualified or you have all the answers, but I'm telling you, everything you said would resonate with at least one person. So that's all that matters.
Okay. Okay. Everyone, and if I didn't resonate with you, you don't have to tell me.
Yeah, yeah,
You could just move on.
exactly.
I would,
Well,
I don't,
thanks for being on. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Career Journals. If you've enjoyed the conversation or just felt a little more seen in your career journey, be sure to follow along on social media at Career Journals Podcast for behind the scenes clips, career tips, and a little bit of humor. Don't forget to check out our website articles that break down how to get into various careers, job titles to look out for, salary estimates, and so much more. Whether you're choosing your first path or making a major pivot, Career Journals is here to help you navigate it with honesty and clarity.